we're going to ask the question, what does $100 actually buy you on Fiverr.com in terms of logo designs? What is up people, welcome back to Satori Graphics. And so today, what is $100 going to get us on Fiverr.com? Now as you know, I did make a video a couple of weeks ago where I spent $5 on some logo designs, and I got some very interesting and mixed feedback on that video. Now just to clarify, I did not make that video to massage my ego or anything like that. My videos are always 100% of the time for you guys who watch my channel. I made that video to deconstruct some real life logo designs that are selling for $5 as a means to help anybody who watches that video to have the skills or to have the ideas and concepts to move past selling the logos for $5. I also thought it would just be interesting to see what kind of logos are being sold for $5. And that brings me on to today's video. What can you get for $100 on Fiverr.com? So first, let's take a look at the brief that I made up for this $100 logo design. So every logo design project needs a brief, and today's brief for my logo designer on Fiverr illustrates exactly what they need to be doing and what my goals and objectives are for my logo design. So here is the first of 2 pages on the brief, and the company that I created or fabricated is Certified Domain Brokers. Now you can pause it and quickly read through this to identify exactly what a domain broker is, but simply put, a domain broker helps people buy and sell domain names for their websites. On this first of 2 pages on my design brief, I've clearly illustrated the objectives that I want to achieve via the logo design. Some key points the designer really needs to look at and study is that professionalism and formality is a key point that I want to illustrate, and it needs to be simple yet memorable. It also needs to stand the test of time within the domain sector. These are some things that if I was the designer, I would write down within my design process and then expand on these key points. So on to the second and the final page of the brief. We're looking at the target market, the message that I want to get across, and also some extra notes that the designer can look at and take on board. So some more key points to take away here. The target market are mainly males aged 30 to 55. They're going to be entrepreneurs and they're business orientated. They're quite high up in society, status wise, and these are very, very key factors to take into consideration when designing the logo. Also, there's some more really helpful keywords here in the form of reliable, trustworthy, and even elitist. This brief is packed full of keywords and directions that the designer really needs to take into account and consideration when designing my logo. So in the extra notes, I said the color scheme and the choice of the colors is entirely up to the designer. But when thinking about a financial kind of logo design, there are a few colors that I personally would keep in mind, and those are blacks, greys, blues, and maybe even gold. Black and gold is a good choice away from green, which is sometimes linked to money, and it connotes power and strength and wealth. Also, blue is seen across many different financial logos, including banks and so forth. This is because blue is a calm color, and it also connotes a sense of security and trust. And these are things that I said in the brief, if you remember. So again, these are the kind of colors that I would expect the designer to be using for my logo design. So let's see what the chosen designer that I've elected for this project is offering for 100 smackaroos. So before we get into the actual logo design deconstruction itself, what was I promised on Fiverr by the chosen applicant for my design? I was promised a high resolution design outcome. I was also promised a 3D mockup, logo transparency, which I guess is the PNG files. Also, I was promised the vector and the source files. So, what does $100 actually buy you in Fiverr.com? We've seen the brief, we've seen the expectations, we're now down to the brass tacks and the real meat of the dish. so to speak. We're going to be looking at the logo design, or shall I say the logo designs, because the designer actually sent over multiple different designs. But yeah, let's deconstruct and take a look at the logo designs for $100. Before we get into the multiple logo designs I was given and deconstruct them, I just want to emphasize that I didn't particularly choose a specific person to design my logos. I just found the first person that was selling a logo for $100 or as close to $100. I actually spent $99 and something after the fees and whatever else was included. And also, my revisions on their logos are really quick and simple revisions, as I obviously don't have a day or 2 days to do the project for them. So here is the first logo by the designer. Right off the bat, the certified logo type is really disjointed, it's kind of non-uniform, and it's too complex, too detailed, and I just think it's ugly in general. It detracts away from the simplified keywords in my brief that I wanted for this logo. The logo symbol is okay, I guess. I mean, apart from the black bar, which is a bit weird. But going back to the logo type, I feel the domain section below is actually quite good, that's decent. And they are following the color scheme I had in mind, which is great. But yeah, the disjointed feel of the logo type is too busy, and it doesn't really flow well. Some areas of this logo type are trying to be simple, like with the E, but then others are just trying to add too much detail, and I don't think it works together very well at all. I personally would have gone for maybe a serif font, and then also maybe a sans serif font below. I think this is more elitist, this is more in line with the brief that I created. But you could have also gone for a sans serif on the certified logo type, but just keep it simple, just keep it, the detail and the kind of broken up certified they used, it's not good for my brief, I feel. But yeah, I've just used their symbol, and I think it looks a lot stronger when it's in a circle like this. And also they did use a black single bar, and I think they did that to create some emphasis to illustrate the top level of that bar. But I think it doesn't work. The logo needs to be simple, and I think this black bar just looks disjointed. It doesn't look right, if you know what I mean. So again, I just used their symbol, and I think it looks better like this, or at least if it's just one single color, not necessarily in a circle. So yeah, the things I did like about this logo is the color scheme was in line with what I had in mind. The logo symbol was a good idea in practice, but the execution wasn't finished too well. And the strap line was done fairly decent as well, the domains part of the logo. So taking everything into consideration, I'm going to give this logo a 55% approval rating as a client buying their services. The second logo is quite interesting, and I think it's more simplified and more impacting than the previous logo. And they've actually really nailed the logo type in my opinion. I mean, well, at least it's better than the previous one. However, the arrow I think is really crude, and I don't think it works well here at all. I can't think of a single logo design that's successful and, relevant today that utilizes an arrow in this way. But I don't know, I think it was heading in the right direction. I mean, it's really impacting and it's kind of simple. And like I said, they did nail the certified and the domains logo type. That is, apart from the domains being yellow like this, I think it could get lost on a white background fairly easily, especially when you scale it down. But the choice of typeface I think is on point. I think that works really well. The arrow, I think the arrow is just not needed here, and it doesn't look great at all. And I didn't actually make any revisions on this logo design, I just left it as it is. But to recap, the things I think they did right are the logo type looks better this time around, apart from the yellow maybe getting lost on a white background. And I think the logo as a whole is more simple in nature and more impacting, which I do like. However, the arrow, it just really ruins things, and I'm not sure about the color scheme either. So this logo gets a 45% approval rating from me as a client. And here we have logo number 3. Now this logo's got a lot going on, and it's quite busy and it's quite complex. And there are quite a few things that I really didn't like about this logo. Firstly, the main logo symbol, the square, I feel it's too thin. The lines are too thin and it's going to get lost when scaled down. as well as the domains being quite small as well. When you scale that down, it's going to look pretty blurry and not legible at all. Yeah, see, these lines are too thin and it doesn't have any impact and it's too mute. You know, it doesn't stand out in the right way and it's going to be lost when printing on, say, a business card, for example. It's way, way too small. Also, the logo type was presented in lowercase apart from the C. This could maybe work for my brand, it could work for the domain elitist kind of approach, but it also is too personal maybe. However, my main gripe with this logo is the blue dots on the eyes. Now this could work if the logo was just a typographic logo design. That could actually work, but when you lump this logo type in with everything else and you have the blue dots on the eyes, this really isn't professional and it's just too busy and it's going to detract away from the message of the logo design as a whole. This is something you want to avoid as a designer when creating a logo. So in my revisions, I really beefed up the lines on the square symbol, and then again I put it into another enclosure. This isn't necessary, but I do feel it's more impacting, it's more visually memorable, and it just works a whole lot better in this way. Now I normally don't use logo designs where I have the symbol and then the logo type off to the right, but I've just used their first example as a kind of platform to work on. And I've gone with a bold uppercase logo type for certified. I guess the lowercase could work, but what are your thoughts on these logos in today's video? I'm really keen and curious to hear what you have to say. And with that taken into account, I have to give this logo design a 35% approval rating from myself as the client. I was promised a 2-day turnaround, which was accomplished, and I was also offered unlimited revisions. I didn't actually ask for any revisions, but I didn't have time for the purposes of this video. Out of everything else, the only thing I didn't receive was a 3D mockup, and that wasn't even something I wanted anyway. So this designer as a business, as how they delivered and how they represented themselves, I give them 95% on what they promised, because they did excel in giving me more than I expected in terms of logos. This 95% has nothing to do with the logos as their quality. This is just them and how they acted as a designer in terms of business. So what have we learned from today's video? What's the real thing to be taking away from this video? And again, this isn't about the designer, this isn't about me. This is about deconstructing a real life logo design for $100 and how you can actually compete on this platform or other platforms for $100 and more by using my tips on the deconstruction phase of this video. I also have videos on, how to actually articulate yourself in a business way and how to present yourself as a designer to clients. And I did make a video recently about email signatures and your actual email name. So I do have a lot of content for you that will help you in your graphic design career. Let me know what you thought of today's video down in the comment section below. If you want to keep boosting your awareness and also your skills as a graphic designer, maybe to make 100 smackaroos on Fiverr, make sure to subscribe to my channel for weekly graphic design content. And of course, until next time, design your future today. Peace.